Welcome to the Superabound podcast, where vision led entrepreneurs learn to build a generous business without sacrificing what matters most. You are listening to episode 344 Unconventional Tools for Whole Life Success. Welcome. I have a short and sweet one for you today, but I think because it is the beginning of the year, I'm recording this in early 2026. I wanted to bring forth some ideas, maybe some inspiration for some of the tools you can use in your mindset work, in your career, in your business that may not have anything to do with some of the traditional goal setting. I actually would say, if I could be so bold, that some of these tools that I'm going to teach you today or just talk about with you today actually outperform most of the traditional goal setting frameworks that I've ever seen. And as always, I am always thinking about business owners, leaders, folks who are often finding themselves in a world where they are supposed to, and they're being coached to or being mentored to always rely on logic and data and some degree of pushing and overwork. So, especially if you're in an industry where those things are very valued, this is going to maybe be a breath of fresh air for you. Because actually, what I've seen as a coach, and I've worked with people across many different industries, but most of the practical tools that I've been working and using with clients over the last few years probably look very unconventional. So today I'm going to introduce you or reintroduce you to 4 practices that I believe create clarity, that help you make decisions and can save you from going down a path that may lead to burnout. I'll also share that I'm going to be going a little deeper with one of these tools. If you're listening to this around when I record it, I'm doing a masterclass on tarot for whole life success. Talk about an unconventional tool at the end of January 2026. There are details for that in the show notes. So if you like what you hear today and you're interested in exploring this particular tool further, I hope you'll join me for that masterclass or watch the recording. So let's dive right in. That first tool, I already mentioned it, is tarot. So tarot cards, oracle cards, actually any what would be called a divination tool. Things that are traditionally maybe used, and you think of them as fortune-telling tools. These are also very often really incredible if you are a spiritual practitioner. They're great for decision making. So if you were to go and get a traditional tarot reading, chances are, not in every case, but chances are you're going to sit down with someone, you're going to tell them maybe the focus that you want to work on. They're going to pull cards, explain what they see, use some degree of their intuition, and give you some impressions about things to look forward to in the future, things to watch out for. I love a good reading. I love going to practitioners. I have a reading every year with one of my favorite teachers. But sometimes when you're doing that type of work with tarot, you are relying on the person in front of you. I have a great reader, so I'm not worried about the information that I'm getting. But tarot is actually a very versatile tool that can be used for personal development. The way we use it at Superabound, I use it for everything from my coffee with the Oracle practice, which I talk about a lot in our book, to even sometimes marketing. When I'm not sure what to say or what someone out there in my audience needs to hear, I never hesitate to pull a couple cards or to do one of my spreads. This is one example of maybe an unconventional tool, but it really does help bring clarity to decisions, to direction, And in a world where we are often, and maybe not everyone who listens to this podcast, but where people in general are relying more and more on external opinions. They're looking to the playbook of others or to the playbook of AI to tell them what to do and how to operate. Tarot is a way for you to connect back to yourself. So I'm going to be teaching my favorite spreads, how to work with tarot if you've never used it as a tool before, if you're interested. And even if you're a seasoned tarot practitioner, I'm going to teach you some other ways that you can use this as a thinking partner to get more self-awareness, to help you maybe avoid going down or going on side quests on the path to your next lantern. So I'll be teaching that on January 29th, 2026 live, and there will be a replay, a recording for everybody who signs up. You can learn more about that in the show notes. And you can also reach out if you have questions at hello@besuperabound.com. I love it. You're going to use even if you've never used the tool before, you're going to walk away from that workshop knowing how to use tarot as a strategic tool for whole life decision making, not just personal, not just business. Okay. And the second tool I kind of alluded to, it's something I do use tarot cards for, but it is the Superabound Coffee with the Oracle practice. It is actually very unconventional because you are not looking outside of yourself. You're actually looking to your future self as both a mentor and a strategic advisor. This is an incredible tool. We've done whole podcast episodes on it, and you can find more about it in the Superabound book. But it's something I like to do at least weekly. And it's a chance to make sure that whatever I'm working on is in alignment with where I really want to go. When I've done this with clients, when I've done this with workshops, it's a chance to, in an unconventional way, to get very clear guidance and make really powerful decisions from a place in your future where you've already figured out the puzzle. So at first, it can feel a little wild. You might question. I had someone talk about this last week. They were like, how do I know I'm really talking to my future self? Listen, we don't know for sure. But when you start to create a relationship with this aspect of you, even if you are just kind of imagining it, it does bring so much confidence in your decision making once you start to see that this future self or this part of you is knowing. It has a confidence that you can borrow in the tough moments. So unconventional, but very powerful. And the more I have done it personally, the more my clients do it, the more powerful the practice gets. On the flip side, so that would be maybe like how you start your week as a coffee with the Oracle practice. You throw in some tarot cards as well. The next unconventional tool, this is very radical for many people. It's what I call CEO Friday. And it may not happen on a Friday for you, but it is taking one day or one half day out of your week that is to reinvest in your own well-being, in your own high-level thinking, perhaps in your learning. It is the day where you stop being the person in your business and your life that is doing everything, and you get to be and act as the visionary, the CEO, the one who is holding the big picture, and you get to invest in that part of yourself. Now, some CEO Fridays, depending on how your life goes and how your world is, some CEO Fridays are really just full of strategic rest. You know, if you think of yourself as an elite athlete, in the world of business or leadership, this could be your day for deep rest and deep restoration. And when you do this, it can be really hard because I think we have the imprints, even if we are really connected with ourselves, I think there's a cultural resistance to deep resting. So even the grappling with this, I remember I had a client who just started to implement this in the last year. And the first probably 6 Fridays was really difficult. She really wanted to check in. She really wanted to see how her team was doing. She really wanted to like respond to the emails. She was checking her emails. So it does take some practice, and it is something I help people with all the time. So don't scold yourself if you find this difficult at first, but it is something that has to be scheduled. It has to be intentional. And ideally, it gets easier as you do it. That is unconventional. You would think, how is this going to make me more successful? Well, when you're more in tune, and tapped in with yourself, it is easier to make decisions that are in alignment with your values, with your vision, and not just to be scrambling, always putting out fires, always running towards the next opportunity, even when it's not actually aligned with what you want. And finally, the fourth unconventional tool will not be a surprise to longtime listeners of this show, but the fourth tool is meditation. Now, I know when I bring this up, often people say, I know I should meditate. I know meditation's good for me, but who has the time? Who has the energy? It's so, hard to get myself to a space where I can just sit down and be there even for 10 minutes. I get it. I am not a person who is naturally drawn to meditation. I find it very difficult a lot of the time. So if I can just offer a couple of ideas to make this practice easier, I will. But I first want to just express that whenever we decide I'm going to do this thing because I know it's good for me, that is often making it really hard. There's going to be a lot of static. For something like meditation, it's easy to assume it's good for you, but it may be more helpful and more gentle to really consider what you get out of meditation and what style of the practice is best for you. As a parent, as a business owner, when I am doing just a straight up meditation practice, it's not for other spiritual purposes. I'm not doing it as a visualization, or I'm not doing it as in some other work in my spiritual life. I have a lot of work in my spiritual life, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm just meditating for meditation's sake. I have to remind myself that sitting down, not letting myself respond to every thought and every feeling, is a vacation. It is really giving myself the space to be rather than do. I can appreciate this so much more the busier I've become in my life. I could sometimes even crave it, which is crazy to say because it's not something that I've ever really found to be particularly easy or even attractive. But it's a way to connect with yourself without having to do something. And if you're a business owner, if you're a leader, so much of our life is generating things for other people. It's being creative. It's putting out fires. It's supporting others. And that is beautiful. And I know we love that. But there is a power in just being and existing and giving yourself the time to simply exist in a meditative state and just feeling your worth, your inherent worth as a human. If seated practice really does not work for you, or you have tried it for decades and it's not your thing, one thing I do suggest is you can make the meditation perhaps a little more productive turn it into a heel static meditation. Sit down, close your eyes, go through our heel static process in the Superabound book, and use it to help you digest, remove, or not remove, but like move through any blockages between you and the lantern you are trying to light. You might find that as you start to do that, it will create space to experiment perhaps with other forms of meditation that could bring you closer to sitting and being. So, those are my 4 tools for you. They are very unconventional. A lot of people have a hard time connecting them to business success, to life success. But these are the things in my own life that have helped me stay present, stay inspired, move through the difficult times, build resilience, and get direction from a source within me that really knows deeply what I'm capable of and can help me get to that next place. So I hope that this inspires you to maybe try one. If you want an easy way to try one, join me for the Whole Life Success Tarot class, where I'll introduce you to that tool and you will walk away knowing how to use it the very next day. I will put the details for that masterclass in the show notes. You can also find me on Instagram at BeSuperabound, and all the details for the workshop are also over there. I hope that this has inspired you to look for your tools, find your tools that are maybe unconventional, start with these ones, let it expand, and don't be afraid to play in unconventional spaces as you build your whole life success. I'll talk to you soon.